All right, on to a story about freedom of speech, and a very important story, because much of the speech that we exercise now, and in fact the platform which you're listening to, is online. It's on the internet and the interweb, and we've had a rather curious way to regulate the behaviour of Kiwis online since the internet became a thing. We've had a thing called Internet New Zealand, which is kind of a statutory body, but not run by the government, which kind of regulates what you do on the internet. And the truth is, censors and government regulators haven't kept up with developments in technology. For example, the Broadcasting Standards Authority would like to censor me on the platform, but it currently has no coverage of what I do. No one does, except the common law of New Zealand, which I'm happy to abide by, and indeed make every effort to abide by. But Internet New Zealand has come up with a proposal that one of the sanctions that it could apply to companies or people saying things online or doing things online they don't like is they could deny them the use of a .nz, is it, domain name, which is interesting. And I also note that in a new discussion paper, and this is kind of apropos of other things we're talking about, the Internet New Zealand Council has recently declared that Internet New Zealand is systemically racist and is proposing a new constitution that will make the organisation co-governed and constitutionally required to implement policies that will implement harm on the internet, which is a load of critical race theory claptrap. But to talk about these changes proposed, we're joined now by a member of the Free Speech Union and great supporter of free speech in New Zealand, Judge David Harvey, who joins us by phone now. David, welcome back to the platform. Nice to have you with us.
Thank you very much, Sean. Pleasure to be here. Could I just clarify a couple of matters?
Yeah.
First, Internet NZ is an incorporated society. It has nothing to do with the government. It was formed many, many years ago, and it is the manager for the .nz country code top-level internet domain.
Yeah, who funds it? Who funds it, David?
It's funded by income that is derived from the sale of domain names.
And who creates those domain names?
The domain names are, well, let's put it this way. The allocation of domain names is assigned to Internet NZ from the ICANN, which is a sort of governing body for the allocation of domain names.
Okay, and who created ICANN?
Hang on.
I'm just trying to explain. I've never really figured this out before, so that's why I'm kind of interrogating you, because it all seems very curious.
Sure. Not a problem. Look, Sean, I taught internet law for about 18 years at Auckland University, and I've written a couple of books on this subject. What you've got to remember is that, in fact, the domain name that you have, which may be platform.nz...
No, it's we're .kiwi. Well, our email is .kiwi. I just liked it.
Okay, platform.kiwi. Good on you. Now, in fact, what happens behind the scenes is that name, if you like, doesn't feature on any of the sort of addressing servers. It is representative of what is called an Internet Protocol number or an IP number.
Yep, IP.
What happens is that your domain name is associated with an Internet Protocol number, which then resolves through various servers so that people can get your information and so on and so forth. And what happens is that Internet NZ and its associated company, which is the domain name outfit, the part that manages the domain names, assign those various domain names. So I can apply for a domain name, and I have, internetlaw.co.nz, and that is granted to me, and I can use that, and that's just fine. And that is, and I pay a fee for that.
I did to get the .kiwi. Yep.
That's right, and that's how they get. That's where they derive their income from.
Okay, so they're not at all associated with the government. They have no statutory obligations, or aren't charged with any statutory obligations.
Nope.
Good Lord, completely a law unto themselves.
They're completely independent.
Okay, then do they need to ask permission to change their rules and say we can take away your .nz number?
Okay, one thing at a time. To change the rules, which is what they're planning on doing, they need to have the approval of the membership.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and as far as taking away domain names and so on and so forth is concerned, that indeed is a very, very complicated and difficult process. But just to give you an example of
I am deliberately asking you questions like the idiot I am, Judge, because I do want to understand it. You say the membership. Do they have shareholders or a membership? And how do you get membership?
Anybody can join.
And does it cost you anything to join?
I think there's there at the moment there's a sort of token fee that's payable.
Okay, so I could join Internet New Zealand and be a member.
You sure could.
Okay, great. Might do that. Okay,
but I've been a member from way back because
it's a club that has a constitution, so it's got rules.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
And I subscribe to the principles that they advanced, which was a free and open, unregulated internet.
Yeah. Okay. So that's why. Okay, I'm now seeing the connection. I understand it, David. This is why it's a free speech issue. Oh, by the way, do you think they are a systemically racist organisation?
I had a major argument about this because I remember when the report was released about systemic racism and everybody sort of went around rending their garments and so on and so forth, as some of these folks in Wellington do. And I said, look, you know, this isn't an issue of racism or anything like that. It's an issue of treating people, everybody, with respect. The old Martin Luther King principle. You know, judge people not by the colour of their skin, but by the content of their character. Forget about this race thing. Treat everybody with respect. We're all human beings. We all breathe the same air. You know, move on. Now, because I expressed those views, I hope in a reasonable and rational manner, I apparently upset some people at Internet NZ, and they prohibited me from participating in the discussion. In fact, Sean, I was cancelled.
Well, it happens all too often. Amazing. They would have gone back and looked for you touching someone on the arm to get rid of you there. By the way, it's $21 a year to be a member of the Internet New Zealand. Okay, let's try. This is actually this is fantastic. I'm understanding things. You know, in life, sometimes you sit there and go, I don't know what that means, but everyone else does, so I'll just sit there and nod as if I do. I now feel I don't have to do that quite as much when I talk about Internet New Zealand. So they want to change their constitution, which they need to do with the approval of their members, so they could essentially, and it's funny you said this, you got cancelled, so they could cancel businesses or take them off the .nz service. Which could be massive for a lot of businesses.
Yeah, it's not quite as easy as that. It's actually very, very difficult to cancel a person's entitlement to use a domain name. Yeah. But what is more important is that Internet NZ did this thing about systemic racism, and then they were confronted with changes to the Incorporated Societies Act. So they had to change their rules to meet the legal requirements of the Incorporated Societies Act. But at the same time, what they decided to do was completely revamp their constitution and change the objects of the society. And in some respects, that's not so bad. But the existing objects are technically oriented. The new objects shift away from the technical focus, and they encompass aspects of internet governance based on objectives that weren't there before. The language...
it's become an ideological organisation.
Yes. The language is vague and generalised. They use words like fair, safe, online harm, which to a lawyer are imprecise and subjective and fluid and shouldn't be present in a broad-based organisation such as Internet NZ. You see, an outfit like NetSafe, for example,